starting the broadcast. So, okay. Thank you, Raylene. I appreciate it. So how's everybody doing on hypothesis? I just like saying hypothesis.
I feel okay.
Yeah. It's you know, I always feel fine when I'm reading the book, when I have to put it together myself. That.
Well, and you know what? Like the exam, just taking that extra, time to go through the entire exam a second time. Like when I read the material about hypothesis and p-values and alpha levels and all that stuff. By the second or third time I read it, it seems to be clicking a little bit. So I'm optimistic that we'll be fine.
Yeah. So, alrighty.
Should we dive into our quiz?
Dive in.
Yes.
Okay, so 1 and 2 are fine. Gotta love that normal probability app. So do not round to 3 decimal places. Yeah, that's what gets me in trouble. So which hypothesis involves equality? The null, the alternative, or a true? So that's the null hypothesis. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The p-value is the probability of obtaining a sample statistic at least as extreme as the one that was actually observed. You have this information to answer the next question. Remember that the p-value is the probability of obtaining a statistic at least as extreme as the one that was actually observed. When computing the p-value, which hypothesis do you assume to be true? And that's the
it's going to be the null.
That's the null hypothesis. Sorry, I can't remember which one's which. So it's the hypothesis.
Yep. Now, this one finally sunk in with me. I'm trying to think of when I finally saw the video where they were talking about. Let's see. I think the Earth being flat. Everybody thought the status quo. Everybody thought that the Earth was flat until it was proven otherwise. So you assume that the Earth is flat until you prove an alternate reality.
Right.
Did that make any sense what I said? I think that helped me learn null hypothesis a little better.
Okay, that's good. That's a good way to put it in real understanding. So suppose the null hypothesis H, I guess that's O, U equals 10. Use the information to answer the next 3 questions. So which of the following represents the alternative hypothesis for a two-tailed test? So I think that's the one that's not equal to 10.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Okay. Which of the following represents an alternative hypothesis for a left-tailed test? That be less than 10 because it's to the left?
Yep.
For the right, greater than 10.
For number 7, yep.
Okay, guys, I always get these symbols messed up. I like forever in math. Which one's greater? You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, the less than kind of looks like an L.
I have an easier way.
Okay.
If you're reading a sentence, in this case, you would go, the mu is, and then the smaller side is less in taking up space than the open side. So the mu is less than 10.
So
The
you're
way I always did it is
okay.
from grade school. Just think of it as an alligator's mouth. The alligator's mouth is always going to the greater number.
So in the first one, it's saying 10 is greater than the mu,
Yep.
or the mu is less than 10.
Yeah.
On what question are you on?
6.
Seven. Oh, 6?
So I'm
Yep.
looking at 6, trying to make sure that I choose the right one because I always get these wrong.
Right, less than, and again, I look at it as
Is
it's
the,
I
is
can
the
tell.
top. In other words, I can say it and I know that it's right, but then I'll choose the wrong symbol. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, perfectly.
So
So
it's the-
yeah, so the first one is less than 10.
Okay. Got it.
One
And
is
that's the
greater
one.
than 10.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And so on the second one, it's greater than 10, or on the number 7, it's greater than 10, which is the second one, because both of you about the alligator and about which one. Okay, got it. All right. I just need to work on that. I don't know why it's stuck. I make it harder than it needs to be, I'm sure.
It's just
Yeah.
one of those things. Listen, I sit down at like a fancy table and go, okay, this is my bread plate and this is my drink because this is a B and this is a D. Like that's how I know which is my drink glass and which one is my bread plate.
Well, that's you
On my
are
lap, go, okay, B, D,
You're
this
about
is
as
my
OC
bread plate.
about as OCD as I am, I think. So that's good. I'm glad I'm not alone.
Oh, we have,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Remember that we determine the outcome of a hypothesis test by comparing the B value to the level of significance. Use this information. What relationship would result in failing to reject the null hypothesis? So the P value is a level. Failing to, oh, so would that be the second one then? Failing?
Failing to reject is kind of like saying we accept. And this is really confusing jargon, and I think this is the kind of jargon that doctors of mathematics in the 17th century came up with. I don't know, but failing to reject is kind of like accepting the null or accepting the status quo. And the p-value, like this alpha here, it's going to be 0.05 or 5%. And so that if the p-value is greater than 5%, then there's the assumption that we fail to reject. Did I explain well? You guys
So-
agree?
So if the p-value is smaller than a, or whatever it's called, I think that's when the null hypothesis is rejected.
But what's failing to reject?
I feel like that means we don't reject it. It's a weird way to say it.
Right. Almost like we accepted it. Failing to reject is accepting, right?
Yeah, failed to
Yeah.
reject is when the p-value is higher than the other value, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I have written in my notes the little thing that he said is P is low, reject the null. The little
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
you did in the video.
Yep.
So that's the first one or the second one?
So if the p-value is less than alpha, that's when we fail to reject, which means we accept it, correct? Am I saying that right?
If the p-value is less than alpha, we reject the status quo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if the p-value is greater than alpha,
We're
We
failing.
failed.
to reject.
And then we fail to reject it.
okay, so it's
So
the
that's
first
the
one.
first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's like it's a double negative, which is like bad for English.
Apparently anything goes in math.
Apparently. And here I thought math was more logical than English language.
I mean, I know it has nothing to do with the z-score, so
Right.
Yeah.
the failing to reject has nothing to do with it.
You know, one thing that also helped me here a little bit is p-value is saying probability value. And
Right.
if anything has a probability of 0.05, that is really small. And pretty much any probability is going to be greater than 0.05. And that would make it safe to assume that the status quo is correct. And we fail to reject. I hope I didn't confuse more.
So then 9 would be the second one. The p-value is smaller than, what is this symbol?
Alpha.
Oh,
Alpha.
that's right. Okay, okay.
With the little fish.
Yeah. Is that right, guys? The
Yeah,
second.
that's the second one.
I think so, yes.
An
Okay.
insurance company is reviewing its current policy rate. When originally setting the rates, they believed that the average claim amount was $1,500. They're concerned that the true mean is actually higher than that. Use this information for the next two questions. Which of the following would be an appropriate alternative hypothesis?
That'd be the greater than 1,500, right? If the average claim amount is greater than 1,500.
Yep.
Yep.
What's the difference between greater than, because I know I read something about not equal to.
It
So-
means it could be lower or higher.
Okay.
It's just
It
not
just
that
isn't
one number.
1500.
So that doesn't,
Yeah.
so that doesn't apply in this case.
No, because they
It
think
needed to
the
be
mean
greater
is
than.
higher.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Right.
It might help. Thanks to Sister Lemon once again for getting it in our heads to take a piece of paper and draw out what's going on. So if you took a piece of paper and a pen and you wrote out the null hypothesis, colon, equals 1,500, and then you go down to the next one, alternate hypothesis, colon, greater to or less than or not equal to 1,500, then it kind of comes to life a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to be careful when you're reading the question, because the question says the true mean is actually higher. So that's how you know to choose greater than. If they said that the true mean is different than, then you could say it was greater than or less than kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just have to really make sure you read the question, because greater than would mean you're gonna choose greater than.
Yeah.
So, all right. 11. Which of the following would be appropriate for the null hypothesis? The average claim is equal to 1,500.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the first.
That's pretty much what they said. These are the ones that I go, that seems a little too easy, that it shouldn't be the answer. But the insurance company randomly selects 40 claims and calculates a sample mean 1650. Use this information to answer the next question. All right, we're getting it. Okay.
So it's a good assumption since the sample size is large.
Right.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It's over 30.
Yep.
Okay, I'm with you.
What theorem or law justifies your answer to the previous question? Are we going with the central limit theorem then, because the sample size was large?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Which of the following is the test statistic as defined in the lesson? And that's, all right. I'm sorry, I have to.
The statistic comes from the sample, right?
Mhm.
That is that the Z? No, not the Z-score. The sample. Let's see.
I'm thinking it's the,
Is it the claims? Because that's where they're getting the information from.
I'm thinking it's the means of the sample, the means of the samples, which would be the X bar, I'm thinking.
Well, we have three different answers, so
well, even though N is probably, well, S stands for.
It's the Z-score, right?
Yeah.
The Z is the test, where Z is the test statistic, X is the sample mean, the X bar, mu is the population mean, and standard deviation, and N is the sample size.
Oh, is that in the previous?
Well, I'm looking in this chapter, chapter 9, and it says the X bar is called the test statistic. Hold on. Since we know standard deviation in this case, we can use the Z-score to determine if the X bar is far from the assumed value. This is called the test statistic. Oh my goodness! Now I've confused myself. Where's
Yeah, no,
then it says
that's right in
is this
that's right
test
in
statistic?
4.2.
X bar is the sample mean.
Yeah, because in the preparation, I was just looking at the preparation assignment on number 5. It says write down the formula for computing the test statistic for the hypothesis test. And that one was the Z-score formula that they had us write out.
Right.
Since we know the mean in this case, we can use the Z-score to determine if S is far from, yes, because the whole sentence is, since we know the standard deviation in this case, we can use the Z-score to determine if X bar is far from the assumed value. This is called the test statistic. So it's saying using the Z-score to find that out is the test statistic. So that's why that's the answer.
Okay, good. I'm glad we worked through that.
Mm-hmm. The historical mean of sales receipts at a grocery store is $150 with standard deviation of 40. The store manager suspects that the average has decreased. She sets up a hypothesis test with the hypothesis. The null is 150. The alternative is less than 150. So we use the level of significance of alpha 0.05. Then she takes a simple random sample of 36 sales receipts from her store and computes that the X bar is 144. A lot of information. What is the Z-score associated with this test? All right, so that's where we need to figure that out.
So we need to figure out the Z-score first, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Negative, which doesn't seem right.
I got a negative 1.800. I don't know if I did it right though.
I got different, but I may have just.
Oh wait. Oh wait, I know what I did wrong. Never mind. I did a calculation wrong.
I don't know why I'm not.
Okay, I got negative 0.900.
Yep.
Yep, that's what I got.
Yeah.
Are we all in accordance with that? because we can spend plenty of time if we need to. I don't want these formulas to get out of hand.
I feel like so I mean, it's a regular z-score formula, right? So it's the 144
Yeah,
minus
it's the one where z equals the data point, which is x bar, minus the mean.
Yeah, that doesn't help me. I need numbers. So it's 144 minus 150.
Yeah, 144 minus 150
Right.
divided by
0.05.
the 40. No, the standard.
Yeah.
That's it. The standard
I don't know if
deviation.
you can see this, but this is what I did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
This is what I did. I don't know. Can you see that?
Yep.
Let me see. I got to get back over to the right.
I love this thing. I use this thing all the time. It's actually my son's, but I kidnapped it from him.
Is that like a finger?
It's called a boogie board, and you use like a little pin in this button. All you do is hit it, and then it erases it. It's like a little digital.
Like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah.
I think that's what Sister Lemon does her videos on, because her penmanship is so nice. Although she downgrades her penmanship. So that does calculations for you too?
No, it's just a writing board. So it's just instead of using the ton of scratch paper, I just do it on there.
Oh, got it.
And you know what? I was not using the right standard deviation. I was using the 0.05. I was using I wrote down the significance, not the standard deviation. So,
Oh, right.
so it's
Yes.
0.9. Sorry, a long way around the block to get the right answer.
Now, do we put the negative in the score? I forget.
Yeah.
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 So it's negative 0.09.
No, I think it's negative 0.9.
0.9, yeah, 0.90.
Yep. Yeah. Right. Not a 0.09.
Oh, your calculator probably says negative 0.9. That's where you see the 0 probably, right?
Right, 0.9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
3 decimal points though. So do we need to do 0.900?
Yes. You've got to have 3 numbers to the right
After
of
the decimal point. Yep.
That's bogus.
So what is the p-value associated with the z-score from the previous question?
That's using the normal probability app.
Yeah.
Yep.
So negative
What do they want?
point.
They want it less than, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That would be just the ones to the left then, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, because of the negative.
Yeah.
So
So that 0.1.
0.1587.
0.184.
That's it. 0.184.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's negative 0.184 or just 1.184?
0.184.
What inference would you make about the null hypothesis for this problem? So if it's, so it's a point. So if it's a,
Rejectable, right?
Yep. If it's greater than, the 0.05.
Yeah.
so I'm sorry, it's greater than, so we reject the null hypothesis? We failed, this is where I get confused.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
reject it? Or-
We fail to reject. There's that
Which means
dreaded.
we agree with it.
We accept it.
I don't know
Yes.
why they can't say that. Why can't they say you accept it instead of you fail to reject it?
Yeah, we can't disprove it.
Right.
in the video they were talking about a criminal in Brother Cromer's video about criminals that are on trial, and a guy could be guilty, but if the prosecution has not proven it, we have to let him free. So since
Right.
we haven't proven an alternate hypothesis, then we have to stick with the null hypothesis. So
it's not quite accepting it. It's not that we've accepted it, but we didn't prove enough to reject it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense. Okay. So what is your conclusion for this problem? We have insufficient evidence that the true population mean is 150. We have sufficient evidence. We have insufficient evidence that the true population mean is less than 150. So we were looking
Is that
at,
the third one?
that's 18. Oh, we have insufficient evidence that the true is less than 150. I have to go back to reading things. Well, yeah, the store manager suspects that the average has decreased. So if it's,
So that would be the insufficient, right? Evidence that the true population mean is less than 150.
Yeah.
right,
The third one.
yes.
Yep.
yep.
There are two types of errors that can be made when performing a hypothesis test. Which one involves rejecting the null hypothesis when the null hypothesis is true? And I haven't read through the whole thing, so I don't know this.
I think it's
That's
type
a-
1.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever we reject a true null hypothesis, we say that it is a type 1 error. That's what it says in the book. So
Yeah, there's kind of a nice chart, like a cross-reference chart in the material and in the videos that it visualizes it really well.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay. A researcher decided that instead of using a level of significance, he will 0.05, he will use 0.01. Which of the following will be true? Probability of a type 1 error will increase. The probability of a type 2 error will increase. Probability that the null hypothesis is true will decrease. His experiment will be more scientifically valid. Again, I haven't read them all, so.
I think type 1 is deals with the level of significance if it gets increased, but this one's getting decreased, which means the type 2 will be increased.
Right, because it says if the value probability of committing a type 1 error is very small, the probability of committing a type 2 error will be large.
Yeah.
So if he's going from 0.5 to 0.1, that's pretty small.
That's an insanely small number.
Yeah.
Right. So then the type 2 error will increase. If 0.05 compute the probability of committing a type 1 error.
I think it's just 0.05.
That's what I was thinking too. Right?
Me
Yeah.
too. Because 0.05 is 5%, and it's 1 out of 20. There's a lot of ways you can look at it. And I think this is kind of a confusing question because it's in its obviousness. But I think it's 0.05 as well.
You want me to go ahead and submit?
Go
Yeah.
for it.
Only one of us, yeah.
We're saying 0.05 there?
0.05.
Yeah. I don't-
We're good to go.
Right.
Hallelujah, brothers and sisters. Hey, Joan, do you want to, or Raylene or Nikki or James or anybody, do you want to take some time and go through any of these concepts while we're together?
Well, I haven't really, I haven't read the lesson yet all the way through, so I need to do that before I do understand it a little bit more, and certainly this has already helped just talking it through, but I haven't even really read it through. I haven't done the preparation,
No, I got it. I have incredibly busy days as well, and so understandable.
So I didn't get 100 because I was truthful in that I did not complete the individual preparation before the group meeting, but I got all the other answers right. So thank you for that.
Well, very good.
So I do appreciate that, but
you're welcome. You know what? And I think all of us agree that if any of us are having any difficulties, email us and we'll maybe collectively be able to add some information.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we're a good group.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. I'm going to bid you au revoir. Oh, excited.
Oh, turn her around.
Oh, okay. I am going to click on Nikki so I can see that cute little baby. Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Look at her. Wow.
Oh, thank you, Nikki.
Thank you for sharing. All right. See ya.
All right. We'll see.
Is she 3 weeks now?
Yeah, she just turned 3 weeks yesterday.
Oh, good for you. Good for you, hon. I don't know how you're doing it, so.
Barely hanging on. My husband, luckily, has been off the last. He's off for 4 weeks with us, so it helps a lot.
Oh,
I'm sure. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend.
See you
bye-bye.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.